Magic and its influence in splitting a husband and wife. Magic and its influence in splitting a husband and his wife. Why? Why is this important? Ikhwani, because in today's society we find that the divorce rate is extremely high. The divorce rate is extremely high. And the amount of people practicing magic is extremely, extremely high. If you're married, then you need to watch this, you need to educate yourself on this so that you can stop any potential harm in its early stages. And if you are not married, then this is something good that you can look out for. Educate yourself again so that when you do get married, inshallah, you can again recognize these signs and symptoms, and inshallah you can take the relevant steps. Before I mention anything, I want to say that just because you may be, you may have experienced one thing or another thing from your spouse, or you've seen something like this, doesn't necessarily mean you should jump to the conclusion of magic. However, at the same time, having said this, we shouldn't go the other way. We should be balanced. We shouldn't go the other way, which is, oh no, I'm not suffering, and we are in a state of denial. I can't be suffering with magic. Magic can't be afflicting me. Ikhwani, we should be balanced. So if we see these signs and symptoms, we shouldn't scream the house down and have a panic attack. At the same time, we shouldn't say, no, it's something else. Let's be balanced and say, okay, let's have some ruqya, inshallah. And you can do the ruqya upon yourself. There's no need to contact a raqi. You can do the ruqya upon yourself. This is the best and most pleasing thing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the best in terms of tawakkul, reliance on Allah, that you carry out your treatment yourself. Okay, so one of the first things that I want to mention, ikhwani, is that when we get married and there is a lot of people gather and the news spreads, ikhwani, unfortunately we live in a society where people don't want to see others happy. People don't want to see others successful. People don't want to see others doing well or sorting their lives out and going onto the straight path. So you usually find that the bigger the circle of like a walima, or the bigger a marriage is today, it's custom to have 1,000, 2,000 people. Very likely inside one of those 1,000, 2,000 people, somebody is not going to be pleased with the fact that you are getting married. And that's why we should stick to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When it comes to nikah, when it comes to walima, there are so many benefits. And this is one of those benefits, something small and something not extravagant. This is closer to the sunnah. There will be more barakah in this, insha'Allah. So ikhwani, you're with your wife now, and you find that you can't get along. There always seems to be a small issue which is splitting you apart. Something very small and it turns into something very large. Or when you start arguing, you start to become very abusive and you feel this isn't within my character. Or your spouse becomes very, very abusive. Now you know your spouse. You know the character of your spouse. And this person is now acting out of character. They're behaving out of character. Some of the things that they are saying, perhaps normally they don't use foul language. Now they are using a lot of foul language. There's a lot of cursing going on. Maybe you should then say, okay, one of these boxes has been ticked. Maybe this is a cause for concern. Sit them down and explain to them. Say, look, why do you use foul language? And if the person says, look, I just don't know. I just don't know, it just comes out. Maybe this is something that you should sit up and take notice of. Or for our sisters, we find that they will lose large amounts of hair. A lot of hair loss. A lot of hair loss, or the hair will begin to get very, very thin, or they will begin to develop skin problems, they will begin to develop rashes, etc. And you'll go to the doctor and they'll put you on all the steroids and all the creams, and nothing seems to work. Nothing seems to work. Again, perhaps this is something that you should sit up and take notice of. Another thing is feeling extremely lethargic. Always feeling like you want to do something. You have aspirations to do things for your spouse, or you have aspirations to do things around the home, or aspirations to do da'wah, or aspirations to do things to benefit the community, but it just seems that you feel very lethargic and there's no energy. You just feel like, you begin to get very depressed. You almost, feel like you don't have any purpose. You feel like your life isn't going anywhere. You start to think suicidal thoughts. Perhaps you even start to self-harm. And you start to feel these suicidal tendencies, etc. Again, maybe something to sit up and take notice of. Another thing, ikhwani, is dreams. You start to dream. And a very, very common thing that seems to be uniform, almost uniform amongst people who are suffering from magic, is they will start to see snakes in their dreams. They will see snakes either chasing them, or they are running from snakes, or they will see snakes that bite them, or snakes that wrap themselves around them, or they will see black dogs, or dogs in general, that again are chasing them, are coming after them, etc. Or you will begin to see other animals, other predators which are coming for you. You may also start to see a lot of death in your dreams. So you start seeing dead bodies, you start seeing a lot of blood, you start to see a lot of chaos, and your dreams are becoming very, very vivid. Your dreams are becoming very, very vivid. Again, perhaps something to take note of. And with regard to dreams, Ikhwani, I advise you, don't rush to seek interpretation of dreams from every single person on every street corner, because the interpretation of dreams is extremely, extremely specialized. It's a very special field. I personally don't know of anybody inside of the UK who can interpret dreams well, because you have to make sure that the person's aqeedah is correct. You have to make sure that his manhaj is correct. You have to make sure that he has an adequate amount of knowledge when it comes to the interpretation of dreams. You have to make sure that he's going to advise you and he has no ulterior motives, and that he's sincere bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. There are people in Medina that I know of, but there is nobody in this country who I would say go to this person and seek interpretations of your dreams from. But these are from experience, these are very common signs that people who are suffering with magic, they exhibit these type of dreams. Another thing, while you are awake, you may find in the corner of your eye, you see like shadows, black clouds, and you think, did I see that? And you look, and actually you think, no, and you begin to tell yourself you're just seeing things, you're becoming paranoid. If you start to see this on a regular basis, perhaps you're in the kitchen, perhaps you're downstairs, perhaps you're in bed, and you wake up in the middle of the night and it seems that there's something hovering over you, or it seems that there's something, hovering in the corner of your eye, in the corner of the room, or something flashes by, then again, a cause for concern. Another thing that you might see, Ikhwani, you might actually see a person. You might see a person standing at the foot of your bed. Somebody might walk over to you and try and grab you. You might see any of these things. Again, if you are seeing things, again, a cause for concern. You may start seeing things while you are awake. You might start seeing snakes. You might start seeing spiders. You might start seeing ants. You might start seeing any one of these things while you are awake. If you see these things, definitely contact a Raqi. It's time for Ruqya now. Other things that you may see, Ikhwani, or you may feel, you may experience something which is commonly known in the medical field as sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis. So you wake up in the middle of the night and you just feel pinned to your bed. You are pinned to your bed and you feel like you are suffocating. It feels like there's something sat on your chest. There is a hadith which the Prophet ﷺ, he mentions this, where there is a type of jinn which goes around and it sits on people's chests and it causes them to become paralyzed. If you find yourself in this situation, do your best to recite whatever you can. Do your best, whatever words of remembrance of Allah come to your mind, Ayatul Kursi. Even if you just start reciting La ilaha illallah. Even if you recite La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Bismillahi tawakkaltu ala Allah. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. Whatever it is that you can recite, recite at this time. And inshallah, this will be lifted from you. At that moment though, you should then again consider doing ruqya, or consider having ruqya done upon yourself. Other things, Ikhwani, marital relationships. You may find that you are unable to be intimate with your partner. You're unable to become intimate with your spouse. There is no love in this particular way. Maybe it's been months and months and months since you've been intimate. Ikhwani, how is intimacy linked with destroying a marriage? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions how we are garments for one another. The spouses are garments one to another. And we have needs. We have physical needs as well as spiritual needs. And one of the physical ways that a spouse or a marriage, it does this, is it allows us to lower our gaze, protects our sexual chastity and our modesty. So if you find that you're not able to be intimate with your spouse, maybe this is a reason to cause or to be a cause for concern. Other things, if you wake up and you wake up in a state of janaba, and this is happening to you regularly, maybe if you're a man and a woman is coming to you in your dreams, when you wake up, you need to make a ghusl, or the opposite is true for our sisters, then maybe